Hello, Gabor. Nice to see you again. How are you today?
Hi, Manu. I'm doing great today. I'm very pleased to be here. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Looking forward to talk about some hot topics around the Agile domain. First, let me ask you, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, where do I start? I came to the UK 7 years ago, and out of those 7 years, I spent four as a Scrum Master. That's the current role I feel closest to my heart, and that's how I sort of identify myself. If people ask me, "What's your job?" I will say I'm a Scrum Master, and sometimes people don't know what to do with that, so then I will have to do some explanations.
All right, and your actual job title is at the moment?
It's Agile Delivery Manager because, hey, why not?
All right. And mine is Agile Coach. So to come up with a third role, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
discuss what is the difference. Is there any difference? I'm Manuele, and I'm currently an Agile Coach at Agile Reloaded. We just want to use this space to share some ideas out of this conversation with our followers. So, what is the difference between a Scrum Master, an Agile Coach, and a Delivery Manager, according to you?
We are talking about the difference between a Scrum Master versus a Delivery Manager versus an Agile Coach.
Yeah.
And some people might think it's three different roles, but as you said, I'm a Scrum Master at heart. That's the role I feel the most at ease with. So my title is Agile Delivery Manager, and I think that by itself is a dysfunction. But I feel like a Scrum Master in my role as an Agile Delivery Manager is someone that is supposed to be responsible or accountable for delivery.
Hmm.
And therefore I have been appointed to take that. But as I said, I think really it is a dysfunction because somehow organizations can't deal with the accountability or responsibility of a team. A team
Right.
can't be responsible for something. An individual needs to be responsible for something because as a Scrum Master, you are not responsible for delivery. As an Agile Delivery Manager, you are. What comes up for you when there is a difference between Scrum Mastery and Scrum Master and Agile Delivery Manager? How do you look at these things?
It's actually a very interesting topic because, in my experience, I've been a Scrum Master, an Agile Coach, and a Delivery Manager. And in many cases, I didn't notice much of a difference. It was really more a different way to call the same thing. But I guess it depends sometimes on the culture of the organizations. There are organizations that are a bit more formal, a bit more hierarchical. And in this case, the delivery manager might actually be framed as someone that is accountable for the delivery, for the team to successfully release quality software.
Hmm.
You're right. I also share with you the view that is this even possible? Because it's hard to be accountable for a successful delivery in a situation where thinking of modern projects there are so many skills involved, right? You have designers, engineers, business people, and to be accountable for something, it really means that you have, first of all, the power to influence all these areas and then the skill to actually be able to lead in all these areas. And I can't see how a single person is able to do that or why.
I think in today's environments, in knowledge work in particular, in the territory where we work in, it's impossible to have like single ringable necks, as
Mm,
just referring to Scrum literature. It's impossible to have engineering managers who are responsible for the engineering and the architecture side of things, and then product people who are responsible for the success of the product, and then delivery managers who are responsible for the delivery. I think this separation and making singular people accountable for each of these areas is a big mistake, because it will lead to blaming. If something doesn't go right, if something is not delivered on time or in scope, then a big blames, scapegoating starts. And blamestorming, that's the word I was looking for. Blamestorming
Brainstorm, I
starts.
like that.
And if there is a failure, it can be a combination of three things: product, engineering, or delivery. So out of these three, what sort of combinations are we going to blame? And obviously, those people will need to be punished somehow. The idea of Scrum is, what if we made the team responsible? And what if we just empowered them and lift them up in a way that they can just take care of it themselves? Because with knowledge work, we don't know what's best to do. The team knows like magnitudes better than any singular point of contact or point of failure, I would say.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So just a bit of a provocative thought. What would you say to someone that says we hire Scrum Masters or Agile coaches or delivery manager, whatever, and we pay a good salary for these people to help us the project stay on track, and then I can't even go back to them and say, oh, the project is late, do something. What would you say to this? Because of course, when we say the team is responsible for the success of a project, of a delivery, it's still an abstract entity, right? So what do you think about this?
Well, I think I would go back to where you started this, and you said that we are hiring these people so that they can be accountable for delivery. But I took part in a workshop recently, and there was a beautiful quote that came up on that workshop, and it goes as like, there is no word for accountability in Finnish. This is coming from a Finnish person. Accountability is something that is left when responsibility has been subtracted. It's from a Finnish educator, Pasi Sahlberg. And I think this is really what it is. Agile coaches and Scrum Masters, they can't be held responsible for delivery simply because they don't have the tools, the skills, the knowledge to deliver. Sometimes they can't even code. They don't understand UX. They don't understand these things. What they can help you with is create an awesome team. And as a byproduct, you will have timely delivery. You will have reliable timelines. But that's all the side product of an awesome team. And that's what you are hiring, or that should be the goal for a Scrum Master or an Agile coach that you are hiring, and not timely delivery. The timely delivery is just a side. It's a byproduct of an awesome team.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, while you were thinking, just came to my mind a book that I read a few years ago. It's called The Responsibility Virus by Roger Martin. And basically, the summary of this is, whenever you name someone responsible for something, you're basically saying that no one else is. So, in a way, having a single name might actually go in the opposite direction of creating a culture of accountability, right?
Yeah, I think accountability comes when you get out of the way. Yeah, as soon as your teams will sense that, just grow to it and absorb that space and take it for themselves.
So you mentioned about skills and so many areas, right? There is the product area, there is the technical area. And this just made me think. There has been a big debate over the years, I guess. I keep hearing sometimes someone asking, does the Scrum Master need to be technical, right? And someone says no, someone says yes, someone says, well, it doesn't harm, I've actually had people reaching out to me saying, we're looking for a Scrum Master, but we want someone with a background from engineering. What do you think about this?
I think it can work both ways. My question is, what happens if a Scrum Master is technical, and what happens when the Scrum Master isn't technical? What is your take on this?
Yeah. So there's actually, in a role that is supposed to be an empowering role, right? A coaching role. Being too expert on something could actually be a downside, right? So if you have a team of engineers and you're trying to coach them in the direction of responsibility, stepping in, finding their own solutions, if you start being the person that gives advices on a technical subject, you're actually maybe giving the signal to the team that they should be led by someone instead of they can simply find the best solution as a team.
Yeah, they can't take the space, the vacuum that we were
The
just
vacuum,
discussing
yeah.
earlier, because you as an advisor, you are taking up that space. Yeah, I think that's true. I think this is why it can be dangerous to hire a technical Scrum Master that understands what's going on in an engineering team. It will just create a different dynamic, and it will be an extra something to look out for the Scrum Master, so that they will have to restrain themselves to step into helping the team when it's in survival mode. Oh my God, the house is burning. We need as many hands as possible to fix this. And then the Scrum Master, will they have the power to say, you know what? I know exactly what I should be doing as a coder, as a software engineer, but I'm not going to do it. You guys resolve it yourself. So what are the two possible outcomes of a scenario like this? In the first instance, it can look like the Scrum Master is just not being a very pleasant person because they are not helping out their teams. Oh my God, this is a horrible Scrum Master. On the other hand, if they do help out their team, then they become a person that can actually code, that is impacting our velocity or whatever metrics, that it impacts the internal workings of the team. And by helping out there, you are injecting an example into the team that, yes, I can do it next time again, and then again, and then again, and then you become a team member down the line.
Yeah, which might imply losing some of that neutrality, right? That is important to be a good supporting role, a good coaching role. But I guess also another thing that comes to my mind, the urgent bug fix and stuff like that, it really came into my eyes, these memories of situation like this before.
Have you been in this situation as a Scrum Master?
Yeah, many times. You know, there's a serious bug, there's an accident, and the whole team is focused. And of course, you try to help as much as possible, not necessarily by coding. What you can do, you can help them focus, you can help them rationalize the problem, you can help them by not getting into an anxious mode, but still be kind of rational, tackle the problem in a kind of scientific way, and also shielding them by other distractions. So that I think that's very valuable. But I would say that the Scrum Master is more. What do you think about this? I'm thinking of the Scrum Master as a role that is working in peace to prepare for the war, right? So you actually work in a way so that emergency don't come anymore or don't come so frequently, right?
Yeah, that would be the goal for us, to make sure that those observability, that the product that we are building is observable, and we build in the monitoring and alerts. And that's what we do in peacetime, and they will help us during wartime when everybody's frantically running up and down. But you know what? If you are not technically skilled and you are not an engineer and you don't have the engineering background, then there is really no way you could help. You could just help by being calm, as you say, and just being rational, and just help people come to a solution by holding the door from the management and the business. Leave them alone. They are fixing this. They are on top of this. And you know what? I think communicating. I think during these times, Scrum Masters primarily shine when they communicate and they tell management, we know that there is this error here. We are going to update you every 30 minutes. And then every 30 minutes, like clockwork, you need to be there. You need to tell them of any update. And if you can, give them a timeline and make sure you are reliable in doing this. You can't be a minute late than 30 and 0 on the clock.
Yeah. Yes, actually, that's a very good point. It just came to my mind. There are many situations, many companies that have very clear processes around incident management, depending on the seriousness of the incident, and they have their own classification. And for certain types of incident, like critical incidents, there is, of course, a clear process around how frequently and who should communicate to the stakeholders and the customers affected. So this is something that, for example, the Scrum Master could be the person saying, I'm helping the team by decoupling the person that is working on the problem and also burdened by having to communicate so frequently. So I'll take charge of the communication outside and letting the team focus on the solution to the problem.
Yeah, yeah. What is important is that you don't take credit for it. You give all the credit to your team.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You are not solving the problem. It's the team that solves the problem.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. I was thinking, we mentioned about the technical lead, right? Who's leading the team technically, and we kind of agree that even if the Scrum Master is technical enough to be able to do that, it's possibly not a good idea. What do you think then of this statement? I'm sure you heard this already in many teams you've worked with. I definitely did, which is, okay, as a team, someone is saying, oh, definitely we should tackle this problem like this. Someone else says, not at all, this is completely wrong. We should tackle this problem in the opposite way. And then they say, well, we need someone to help us decide. So that's where the tech lead comes in, right? To have the final word on a technical problem, because we as a team, we are not able to find an agreement. So then now we are moving possibly the problem, right? So we need to have one person decide technically. It's not going to be the Scrum Master, as we said, but then it's going to be the tech lead. Is that also your experience? And what do you think about this?
Well, I'm just very cautious of creating bottlenecks around the team with this. I think I would love to be in a situation where we can go with a technically imperfect solution for a while until the team finds out what is the technically better solution. I understand that organizations need quick and hopefully right decisions to be made, and one of the ways to get there is to have a technically excellent person who is going to call all the shots. But then how are we going to grow our people to become that technical person? How are we going to grow our people to become those tech leads if we don't allow them to call those shots and take the responsibility of those shots? And this is where my problem with individual contributors starts, essentially. If I could, I would just make sure that those engineering managers or tech leads, they are part of the team and they are heard, their opinions are valued and listened to. And then Scrum has a couple of ways to de-risk or diffuse risk. One is a spike. So if we don't know what the technically best solution is, why don't we just run an experiment in a time box and see what comes out? This would be one way to diffuse a risky situation like this. This situation exists probably because we don't know enough.
Yeah, this is a good approach, right? Sometimes people say, oh, we need someone to decide for us, because if we try to decide as a team, it takes so much time, it takes forever. But then maybe it's more the approach in which you take decisions. So if you say, let's not fight one idea against the other, we just say, okay, let's make an assumption, do a quick experiment to see if we can validate or not this assumption, and basically have more of a pragmatic experimental approach, and possibly also taking decision with data, right? So we've run the experiment, we found out this, and given this is then the best technical solution for now, right? There's also this other aspect that sometimes you get so entrenched in finding the solution that you think that if you take the wrong one, it's going to be a disaster. But sometimes there are technical solutions that are not written in stone. You don't have to decide now. You can decide later, or you can still change it later. Some decisions are like that. Some decisions are very important to, they need to be taken early and they need to be right, but not all of the decisions are like that.
Yeah, and we should find a way to de-risk these decisions and take just as granular steps as possible if it's a big and complicated decision.
Great. So we've been talking about the Scrum Master now for a while. There are so many things that have been said. In February, we celebrated 20 years of the Agile Manifesto. Scrum was born before that. So it's not just a young framework anymore. And so many things
It still feels fresh, though, a bit.
It still does, I have to say. You're right. So many things have been said. The Scrum Master is a servant leader, is a change agent, a coach, a mentor. Like, so many things have been said. What is it for you?
Well, according to the Scrum Guide now, the Scrum Master is a true leader as opposed to a fake leader previously.
So the 2021 guide, right?
Yeah. The 2020 guide says Scrum Master is a true leader, and I have problems with that. I don't know what a true leader looks like. It certainly doesn't look like me. Yeah? I just feel that Scrum Masters usually work in an environment where people are extremely good with code. And that's how I describe software engineers. Like, they are people who turn caffeine into code, into working code, and they are excellent at this. Their mind is loaded with algorithms and problems and how to turn those problems into solutions, and they express it via code. And as Scrum Masters, our role is to be the lubricant in that engine where code is being churned out, to make sure that the teams can collaborate. The intra-team and the inter-team collaboration works as smoothly as possible. This is our role. And I'm sure everybody has read it many times, that the Scrum Master role has a couple of stances. First, when you come into a command and control environment, a very corporate hierarchical environment, Scrum, it will feel like stepping on a landmine, because it's all about empowerment, and it's all about autonomy, and it's all about leave the team alone and let them sort it out. And it will be very, very new, and maybe even blockingly new. Yeah, like paralyzingly new to some organizations, and they will need a guide in that, and that's the Scrum Master essentially. What are some of the metaphors that you think of when you think of a Scrum Master?
So for me, the metaphor that over the years still stuck with me is, in a football team you have a coach, right? And the coach,
a very technical one in most cases.
Yes, in this case, they are either an ex-player that then become the coach, and they coach teams. But at the same time, they don't make all the calls, right? They give a guidance that is based on experience, but they are not actually playing in the field, right? The team is. And I think there's also another opinion that I've heard a lot in my career, which is the main goal of a Scrum Master is to kill their own role, right? So when they do a good job, then they will leave the team because the team has become completely self-organizing It's a bit like Mary Poppins, right? At a certain time, they leave for another team that need more support. Now, if I think of this in terms of the analogy with the football team, actually the coach never leaves, right? So I'm not sure if I agreed about, this idea that the main purpose of the role is to get themselves redundant, because I think they should make the team not depend on the Scrum Master. But that doesn't mean that, given how things change quickly in modern organizations, right? People come and go, technologies change, they change like crazy, companies become much bigger, they scale up so quickly. So methods of working, approaches that were working last year, not necessarily are still working. So change is continuous, right? So I don't see the team reaching a point of performance and that being something that, okay, I'm now on the top of the mountain and I own this place, right?
And I can't take it any further.
Yeah, exactly. It's a continuous balance, right? So you get worse and then you get better again, and it's a balance that needs to be managed. So for me, the Scrum Master, at a certain point, of course, they won't have to explain, what a retrospective is and what are some of the things that are expected in most basic situations. But I think the team will still have sometimes the need to say, Coach, what are we doing here? What's the strategy here, right?
Yes, I will bring a somewhat broken analogy here. From the onset, if you seek therapy, it's quite unlikely that you would seek the same therapist for like 15 years or 5 years even. You would want to have a different perspective. And coming back to your point of the Scrum Master's main purpose is to make themselves redundant, I still look at that as the ideal that we will never reach, but still aspire towards.
Yeah.
It's, like our company's agile. Is there a point where we are now so agile that we don't need to find better ways of working? We have done enough now. Is the peak of the mountain, as you said. It's agile, being agile is an ideal, and we will never get there. And we'll have to just accept this. Scrum Master needs to work themselves out of a role, but will they ever get there? Probably not. Still, it might be a good idea to change the Scrum Master like every couple of years based on your context. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
what do you think about this?
No, yeah, that's a great point. You're right. The team might benefit from a coach in the long run, but not necessarily the same, right? Because as you say, when you work with the same team, you really might lose some of your impartiality and neutrality, right? You become a team member,
and you just get used to the environment so much that you are putting up with the dysfunctions of it, and you don't see it. You don't have you lose the idea of the fresh eye.
Yes, you're right. And especially one risk of a role like this, which is supposed to have really high empathy, is that empathy can become sympathy, right? So, and then you say, oh yes, we made a mistake, but we are a great team. Oh yes, we could do this better, but we are still doing so well. So you might stop a little bit in being the person that pushes for the next improvement, because you can always improve.
Can you elaborate on empathy and sympathy? Because I would like to unpack that. Can you just elaborate on what the difference there is for you?
Well, let's make an example. So, Gabor, you run a stand-up, and then you come to me and say, oh, that stand-up didn't really go well. And actually, I noticed that there were some things that could have been improved, but I feel sympathy for you. So I'd say, don't worry, Gabor, it was great. Everything is fine. While empathy is a bit different in my mind. Empathy is, Gabor, that was very tough. I understand that you might have been feeling frustrated. It's actually a difficult situation because you have a distributed team and so on and so forth. Maybe next time try to do this. So
So what are the things that you
yeah,
can
I
tell me?
still tell you that something can be improved. So I'll be empathizing with you, but I won't be excusing you, right? Too much.
Okay.
So this is my idea of the two terms. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what
No,
in
no,
my
no.
mind.
I think I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same side regarding these
Yeah.
two words.
So we've been saying that Scrum has been evolving through the years. There's a new version of the Scrum guide published from time to time. So to kind of close this up, how do you see this role changing in the next 5 years?
I think we will have to find genuine ways of remote and on-site collaboration. We have been doing this for a while, but right now, currently, everybody's on Zoom. I have not seen too many teams that are part office, part at home. But that will be more weighted in the future, because so far what I have seen in my own experience, and I will want you to tell me about yours, is that 90% of the people are in the team and 10% is working from home. So there would be the odd one or two person that is working from home. But now I think we are transitioning into a world where there is like a 50-50 balance. And it's quite unlikely, even when your company will say, okay, or when your team will say, yes, on Thursday, we want everybody in the office, all the team members. It's quite unlikely everybody's going to be making it. And it will be more than just one person that's going to be away working from home. There will be like a 3-to-7 ratio, 3 working from home, 7 in the office. So we will have to prepare to facilitate for those that are working from home. I think that will be the biggest challenge for us, to feel at ease in a distributed environment. What do you think about this?
When the whole lockdown started now more than 1 year ago, and we started working from home, I was thinking this is going to be very tough. So the first week I was really anxious and a bit worried. But then I saw that actually the hardest part was when someone is in the office and someone is at home, it's a bit harder to manage. But actually, when the whole team is remote, then you really put in the effort of try and find the right tools. We say that people and interactions over processes and tools, but that doesn't mean that a good tool can't help you, right?
Of course.
So I've been, using Zoom and breakout rooms, online digital boards. It really makes a difference. You can make a remote meeting very interactive. So my experience was that it was hard at the start, but then it creates a new awareness. Since you are aware that you are working remote, you put more effort in the communication. And sometimes the result was even better than when you are in the office, because one of the tricky parts of communication for me is that you have the impression that it's easy, but then a lot of misunderstanding can still happen. Being remote actually made that more evident. So then you can put in more effort. And I've seen people becoming very diligent by saying on Slack, sorry, I don't understand. Can we jump on a call? Or I'm going to be away for an hour for lunch break. So being very considerate with their team members to say, I need to tell you people when you can find me, because you can only find me online.
Yeah,
so I've seen a lot of improvement in this area.
I think a good team agreement would definitely help this. Like,
Yeah.
what are we agreeing on? When do you need to let us know that you are not going to be available? But I think going forwards, the challenge I can see is the mixed nature of the team. Some working from home,
Yeah.
some in the office. And that's what we will have to find better ways of collaboration there. Because, you honestly, you can't expect people to be in the office and be on Zoom at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. If you are catering for the needs of the 3 that decided to stay at home, or that they had to stay at home, and the 6 are in the office, you can't expect the 6 in the office to be sitting in a circle in front of their computers talking to the 3 remote people. We will have to find better ways, definitely better than the one that I was just presenting now.
All right, Gabor, thank you so much for this chat. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Manu, for having me, and I hope to be here soon again.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to see you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.